morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you are listening today. Welcome to Engineering Tales number 5 from American Society of Engineers of Indian Origin. Today, our guest is BV Jagadeesh, an entrepreneur and venture capitalist. But before we get to meet him, a little bit about ASEI. We are a network of technical professions of Indian diaspora living in the US to provide a platform for networking. And our sole purpose is to develop and nurture the next generation of engineers and technical professionals. We've done a lot of things in the last few years. And most importantly, we are proud of our chapters in Michigan, Southern California, Washington, D.C., San Diego, and Silicon Valley, where I'm the president, and I happen to be the national chair as well this year. We've held a number of conventions in the last 38 years, and recently we have received a good amount of feedback from you all. Love the engagement with the community and would love for all of you to join on our future programs as well. And for those who are not yet members, urge you to join because here we are networking, learning from each other, as well as learning from high achievers in the amongst the Indian diaspora. So some of the events that we've done and which have received a lot of media coverage, as well as all of these are available as recordings to the members on our YouTube channel. So feel free to check them out. And just to remind the 4 pillars on which we have our strategy for 2021. Mentor Connect to provide small group mentoring, University Connect to encourage the next generation of students, engineering students, and connect them with the Indian professionals here in the society. And we conduct events for youth and STEM programs, such as BETS and YTE and regional science fairs, and Engineering Tales and Getting Real with Engineering webinar series. And today is our day for Engineering Tales. And just as a reminder, our next event is a masterclass with a CEO coach. Don't forget to subscribe and attend. Let's meet our guest for today, BV Jagadeesh, who is a managing partner at KAAJ Ventures. He has successfully invested and guided companies such as Nutanix, Yodlee, both of which went IPO, and Arkin, which was acquired by VMware, Elastic Box, which was acquired by CenturyLink, NetMagic Solutions, acquired by NTT, and so on and so forth. There are so many of his ventures which have done very well. But before he was a venture capitalist, he used to be an engineer, just like you and me. And how he transitioned from his journey from engineer to an entrepreneur to a VC, that's what we'll be talking about. He has the great distinction of being the CTO of Exodus Communications, which pioneered the concept of internet data centers, and he was instrumental in its successful IPO in 1998. Currently, of course, Jagadish is an active investor and serves on the board of several Silicon Valley startups. He's also an adjunct faculty at the Levy School of Business, Santa Clara University. He is, of course, also very much involved with a lot of nonprofits where my paths with him have intersected. And he has been the winner of 2016 Engineering Entrepreneur of the Year Award, which happened back in the Cal Poly Pomona conference of ASEI. So without much further ado, let's go and meet BB. Right. Welcome, BB. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, Piyush. Thank you. So good to see you once again after a long time.
Absolutely. You recall when we first met, I'm not sure if you recall or not, but I had read about you in Silicon India and way back in 2007, 2008 time and I saw you at the San Jose airport. I was getting down from a flight, and so were you waiting for your luggage. And that's when I recognized you. And
Wow.
I didn't speak to you at that time because we were not introduced. But to my good fortune, when we got to work
At
together at TIE,
Thai
uh,
conference. Yeah.
you were the convener of the TICON, and I
Right.
was
Right. Right.
leading the content track
Yeah.
for big data analytics. So that was
Yeah.
an awesome experience for me to work with you.
Yeah. I have to say, you did an incredible job, and you actually laid the foundation for all the next generation of the data science topics at TICON over the next several years. So yeah, I mean, we did an incredible job together, and that was one of the most successful TICONs back in those days.
Thank you, thank you. And after that, I saw the launch of this program called Billion Dollar Babies, which
Right.
was, I think you were the co-chair of the program, or
I
leading
was,
the.
yeah, yeah. We conceived the idea, myself and Raju Reddy. We conceived the idea at the time when I was still associated with TIE, and we thought that this would be a great opportunity to go and spread the word and build the confidence amongst Indian companies in India, so that many of these companies have the potential to go global, and we at TIE wanted to encourage these companies and perhaps maybe even offer mentorship and guidance for some of these companies to come to the US and then go global. Sort of a model that we thought we could adapt from Israel,
Uh-huh.
because we have seen several of these unicorns coming out of Israel, born in Israel, but coming into the US to go market their products to the global markets. And we kind of thought, this is the right time for bringing Indian companies into the US and spread the word that you can actually create $1 billion out of companies, and that's
Yeah,
how.
absolutely. And this is a time when I don't believe I had ever seen uh, any other Indian unicorn by then. And so when you had initiated that, and I believe in a town hall meeting at TIE, you and Venk and Raju Reddy had laid out the idea that you're just sharing with me. Uh,
Correct.
it was kind of, we were saying, oh my goodness, there'll be unicorns coming out of India. I couldn't believe it. That was
Correct.
way back in 2014. And then I saw on my birthday, you went to Chennai and had a road show all over
Yeah.
India, Chennai,
Yeah.
Hyderabad, and then the program became a reality. And now you
That's
see
right.
how many unicorns have come out of it. So
Exactly. Yeah. It's really,
congratulations on that.
really fascinating. And in fact, we observed a couple of companies. I think we brought in the first cohort, we brought like 3 companies, and one of them is actually doing it hasn't hit the unicorn yet, but it has the potential to hit the unicorn, and they're actually doing extremely well. So which is not bad, 1 out of 3, and the other 2 got sold,
Yeah.
uh, and it became success. Both the companies became successful, and actually it was 4. I mean, this other company, Uni. Uh, Uniphone or something like that, which got funded by John Chambers. So that was the
Oh,
4th company that we chose.
awesome, awesome. So you are a trailblazer. Obviously, you've done so many new things over a period of time. And but before we get deeper into anything of this thing, I want to tell the audience here that, guys, BV Jagadeesh won the ASEI Engineering Entrepreneur of the Award Year Award in 2016 for one of his initiatives, which was Billion Dollar Baby. But he's been doing a lot of things. He's been an engineer. He's turned into a entrepreneur, then a VC, and a philanthropist. And I've had many run-ins with him, including one where he was interviewing Sadhguru uh, Vasudev Jaggi in Silicon Valley, and that was I believe, the second time I had seen him live on the stage. So, with that, I'll
Thank you.
hand it over to BV to share share your journey, how you got into engineering, and how did you come to the US, BV?
Yeah. You know, uh, I actually come from a small village, which is back during those times, it was a real village. And there used to be like one bus in the morning that goes to Bangalore, and then the same bus in the evening comes back. So that's it. and our village, we only had school up to 7th grade or so. So 8th grade onwards, my brother and myself, we both moved to the city. And because we were so small at that time, we kind of had a small room and we cooked our own food. And we used to go to high school and then college. And then eventually my parents moved myself and my younger brother into a small hostel so that I could attend the engineering college. And I have to say that the the real life experience that I got during that time, right, without direct attention of the parents, especially when you are like age 10, 11, 12, all the way up to 18, 19, with no direct attention, but pretty much you have the responsibility yourself. I think that gave a tremendous amount of self-confidence, tremendous amount of street smartness, and value for money, right? All those things kind of like was built into our upbringing, which, if I reflect back today, sort of like, if you start connecting the dots, right? Every one of those things that I went through, starting from the age of 10, as I moved to Bangalore for my early school days, and till now, you can start relating every part of the things that I went through. And I have to really thank my parents, first of all, because I don't think any mother would have the courage to let go of a 10-year-old son to go and live in a big city all by yourself, right? Without a direct care. I mean, I really, really have to appreciate and thankful to my parents for having that confidence and letting us go and explore the world and building all that uh, the self-confidence and various other things that really paid off, especially for me after I moved to Silicon Valley. So I got my engineering degree from Bangalore itself. And then my next major turning point was when I joined my master's program, master's in engineering program in Bombay, VJTI. And that turn was, from a career standpoint of view, I think that was really a major turning point of my life, where during the break between the first year and the second year, instead of going back to Bangalore for the summer vacation, that too being in Bombay, summer is hot, and then the monsoon sets in, the rains are bad. In spite of the fact that my professor was suggesting that I should go back to Bangalore and spend my summer and then come back for the third semester, I kind of insisted that I would like to work for some company and get some practical knowledge.
Wow.
And somehow, he was kind enough to pick up the phone and call one of his students, which had who had a company called Bombay Electronics.
Uh-huh.
And this person, Dr. H.J. Nain, he had a PhD from Case Western Reserve University. And he was so happy to receive me and then have me under his umbrella to give me the practical training. And more than anything, in the year 1979, I got exposed to microprocessors, to
Ah,
really work on microprocessors, Motorola 6800 microprocessors.
wow.
And honestly, that was really the major turning point of my life. And then he introduced me to IEEE, and I became a volunteer at IEEE. I mean, that is how, when I came here, I built a lot of friends in the professional circle, because as soon as I came, the first thing I did was become an IEEE member. And then I started to volunteer for various programs, just like how you and I volunteered for TAI back in 1982 when I came. So I got that microprocessor experience, and then I got a job in India for a company that was representing Intel, and that company called Micronic Devices. And then I worked there for 2 years, and I was very, very fortunate to get a job in Silicon Valley directly.
Mhm.
And this is just at the time when the Valley was just happening. I mean, it is not like, obviously, it is not like what it is today, but lots of things were happening. And this was a computer company, and I got a break to come and work in Silicon Valley. And the next 10, 12 years, essentially, I worked as an engineer, gaining tremendous amount of experience, learning from incredible set of people, right, over the next 12 years. And that's how, I made my transition from India to the US and remained as an engineer for the first 12, 14 years after I got my degree.
Awesome, awesome journey. In fact, what you said reminded me of a chance that even the story that goes how Steve Jobs called HP founders to ask for a component, and then he got a internship during the summer. And I don't know if you knew Steve Jobs at that time or what went into your mind, but this is something which I also advocate a lot, and you've seen some of our ASEI programs where we emphasize on getting internships for high schoolers as well as undergrad engineers, as well as some of the other students that we mentor at ASEI. And incredible that you've been doing it for long before I was in the professional circuit. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is, doing that internship, it exposes you to the practical aspects of engineering or even life. And the other aspect is you get to meet a lot of interesting people,
Right, right.
right?
Plus
You get to
the
meet
power of networking that you get to
the
know.
power of networking starts right there itself.
Right,
Because,
right.
I mean, think of it, because I went there, I got introduced to IEEE, and I
Yep.
started to volunteer in Bombay for many of these IEEE events. And then first thing, as soon as I came here, right, I wrote a letter to IEEE in New Jersey, Piscataway, and boom, they introduced me to the local volunteers here, and then I became part of them.
Awesome, awesome. Now, this is triggering another memory in my mind. During my undergrad years, there used to be an organization called Computer Society of India.
Correct.
And
CSI.
I just wrote, just like you, to start a chapter in my college in Delhi University, Delhi Institute of Technology. And they immediately wrote back saying, okay, yes, you can start the chapter. And I was overwhelmed, just a simple letter, how much power it has. You just have to ask. You just have
Correct.
to show some initiative, and you can go forward with that. So awesome story, awesome story. Now let's shift gears, BB, and talk about how you got into founding a company. You were the CTO, and then you took them public. Tell about that story, and then we'll delve into your VC
Yeah.
journey.
So to become an entrepreneur became my dream when I was working for this company in Bombay,
Hmm.
right? This internship that I was doing at Bombay Electronics, because I worked so closely with the founder. This is Dr. AJ Nain, and and the small company that he had, and the freedom that he had, and the kind of work that he was doing, right, to make a difference rather than just doing some work and getting a paycheck. I think that's what truly inspired me, that one day I have to start my own company. And believe it or not, pretty much I think after that, all my life, I only worked for startup companies, right? I mean, after that, I joined this Micronic Devices, which is also a young company in India. This is the time when a lot of my friends used to go and join TCS, TBL, and those kind of companies. Instead, I went and joined this young, another startup company. And the founder there, Mr. Vijay Raghavan, was an incredible person, great mentor for me as well. And then I came here, I was working for Alexi. Alexi was a very, very young company building super mini computers. And then I went and joined Rekel Vedic, and then Bridge Communications. All were really small companies, less than 100, 150 kind of people, and work with the founders very closely, work with the rest of the team, and all of that. So my dream to become an entrepreneur started back in 1979. And obviously, after I transitioned to the US, you have to first stabilize your life. And I also tried a couple of other things as well. As part of this IEEE, we tried to start a few small endeavors, and that gave me more confidence and more experience on the business side as well. And in 83, no, I'm sorry, in 1993, 11 years after I moved to the US, I got a best opportunity to meet my partner, KB Chandrasekhar, and both of us collectively came together and we decided, hey, this is how we're going to build this company. These are the values that we're going to instill in the company. This is how we're going to share uh, the equity for every employee. We made sure that every employee that we were going to hire is going to get the equity. That means we wanted to ensure that everyone has a stake in the company. Everybody is like a co-owner of the company. So in fact, when we became successful, when Exodus became successful, even our admin, the very first admin that we had hired, she made over $5 million when
Oh
she
my
sold her
goodness.
shares.
Oh my goodness.
So that's a difference you make, right, in people's life. And so, we started the company, and it became wildly successful. In fact, at one point of time, we were carrying almost like 40% of the world's internet traffic. 40%.
This is
And
1998 or
yeah,
before that?
this is around 1998, 1999 timeframe. 1998 is when we went public,
Okay.
and 99 was pretty much the peak for the company. White House at that time, where the president was Bill Clinton, he named Exodus as a national asset.
Wow,
Yeah,
wonderful. Wow,
because
must have been a very proud moment for the founding team.
it was absolutely. I mean, imagine, right? Two immigrants coming from India and starting a company, and not only taking the company public, but becoming like a national asset
Wow, I'm
because
getting
because
goosebumps
of all,
just thinking about that, BV.
yeah, because of all the internet properties that we had. You pretty much name it, everybody was our customer. Everybody, right? I'm starting from Amazon to Microsoft and Hotmail to Merrill Lynch and Goldman Sachs, and then of course Google was a very young company, and they became our customer somewhere around 99 or so. So all of these guys, all the mega players of the internet, were Exodus customers.
Great, great. Now, you were a CTO at that time, but I know in a startup you got to wear multiple hats. Did you go on sales calls as well? Did you?
All the time. I
Okay.
was the I was the SE.
Oh, okay.
I was the systems engineer for the longest time, and especially during the early days. Early days, I was running multiple things. I was VP engineering, and I was also VP of operations, and I was also chief technology officer. As VP engineering, I had the entire backbone that we had to build, a national level backbone that we had to build. And also we had a software division, and software division was headed by a good friend of mine, Prabhakar Sundarajan, and he was driving the various software aspect of it. In fact, that's what gave us the edge in the market, because we clearly understood connecting between an internet data center into a corporate data center, right? Where you run your mission critical databases and all of those things. And internet was like the front end. So think of, if you are a Merrill Lynch, so people can come to Merrill Lynch via internet, but the database is all sitting inside the Merrill Lynch data centers. So how this query that goes from Exodus data center into the Merrill Lynch data centers in New Jersey. So there is a lot of things that we had to develop to connect
Mhm.
between the front end to the back end, because these tools did not exist back in those days. And
Mhm.
then the entire management aspect of it, right? All these middle layer that you guys had at IBM and all, it all
Right.
came much later.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we had to develop a lot of those things back in those days. And then
right.
the entire management platform, right? How do you manage all these thousands of servers and network and various other equipments that we were managing? So a lot of those things were done by this Prabhakar's group.
Got it.
And,
And
and then
Prabhakar, is he the guy who runs Fabric now?
yes, Prabhakar
Ah,
is the
okay.
one.
All right.
Yeah, he's part of the fabric, correct.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So, and then I was running the operations as well, which is day-to-day aspect of how do you turn on customers? How do you maintain these customers, right? So that's other aspect of it. And now, because I was the founder, uh, because of the credibility, sales guys used to take me on sales calls,
Hmm.
and then you whiteboard with the customers, and this is how you win. I mean, that's what actually gave me tremendous amount of exposure, right? Handling various kinds of customers, small to medium sized to large, I mean, even Microsoft, when they became our customers, the number of whiteboard sessions that I had to have with those guys, and that's how they build the confidence, right? That
Right.
if you are a
Right.
founder, if you are able to explain how the nitty-gritty details of everything that works
Right.
and answering questions confidently,
Right.
and
Right.
that's what helps to win these deals.
Yeah, and absolutely, it's the trust that you establish with the listener, with the
Exactly.
buyer, and if you are able to go from the big picture vision to a small
Exactly.
nitty-gritty thing, and that establishes the credibility of not only you but the
Correct.
entire team that you're carrying with on your shoulders. So,
Correct.
uh,
Correct.
very grateful for you sharing this thing, because this is something that sometimes people, especially the younger generation today, don't get it. That you've got to toil hard. You can not only have a title of a C level or a president of a company by just founding. You've got to put in the labor, and you've got to acquire multiple skills so that you can execute as well as set an example for rest of your team.
Correct.
And that's how you hire right. At the
Correct.
same time, you've got to teach and train your rest of your staff that this is how it is to be done. So
Exactly. And that is how the rest of the employees also will have respect for you,
yes.
because the the attention to details is such an important thing, right? Because every aspect of building the company, whether you are making a decision in buying certain things, and when you buy that certain thing, the price negotiation is one aspect of it, the technology negotiation is another aspect of it, right? So because you're dealing with so many vendors and so many other technologies, and the more you are connected with the customers, the more you are connected with the technology and the business aspect of it, it makes you a complete person.
Absolutely, absolutely. Wonderful. So far, we've got to your entrepreneurship. Let's talk about your angel investing and how did you go about establishing KAAJ Ventures as a venture capital firm?
Yeah. So as you know, after Exodus in 2000, I became the CEO of this company called NetScaler. And NetScaler is a company that I had funded back in 98, 99 timeframe, based on an idea that came from a founder who was working at Sun Microsystems. And we were facing some massive problems at Exodus from a scaling point of view. And this was a technology that actually was going to address those scaling issues. And that's why I funded the company. And I also brought many other investors into the company also. And in the middle of 2000, the company needed somebody who understood this technology. And I was on the board, and I ended up actually becoming the CEO of the company. And then we went on to build that into an incredible company. And Citrix acquired us back
Mhm.
in 2005. And I was with Citrix for several more years to integrate NetScaler, both from product point of view as well as from market point of view. So in fact, I traveled extensively to meet with all these Citrix channel partners. And I'm really happy to say today, NetScaler is like a foundation for Citrix. And NetScaler does over $1 billion in revenue for Citrix today.
Wow. So that acquisition is paying even
One of the
now.
most successful, one of the most successful acquisitions in the technology industry, not just for Citrix, but for the technology industry itself, right?
Yes.
Where, we have seen many companies acquiring smaller ones and then eventually not going anywhere, right? So this is actually because we made sure the exit was not just a financial return. The exit was to take the product and amplify using the distribution channel that Citrix had. And that's what we were able to accomplish.
Awesome. Awesome. Now, talk about what's your investment thesis in your VC world. Your specifically, is it just by yourself, or you have a team that advises you on your investment thesis?
Yeah, very interesting, actually. Yeah, so until now, right, we formed this KAAJ Ventures as a angel investment kind of a thing, because I wanted to understand this whole game of how the investment world really operates. And here and there, I was making some investments right after my Exodus Exodus days, I made one or two investments in India, which really became very, very successful. And I made, this NetScaler and a couple other investments in the US as well. And then after I left Citrix, around 2010 timeframe, I sort of formalized this whole angel investment as KAAJ Ventures. And I did not want to go join a venture capitalist world, because after talking to many of these VCs, I realized that you have to operate within the boundaries when you become a VC, because the boundaries are very clearly defined. So the freedom is sort of lost. Obviously, you get the power of a VC, you get the brand name of a VC, right? You also get to invest a lot more money. But I felt the freedom, that decision that I make has to be entirely me, right? And I did not want to set myself with these boundaries, because sometimes I may be interested in investing in some fun education project, right? I don't want to be limited based on the boundaries of what the venture capitalist has sold to his LPs. So based on that, I took a conscious decision that I am going to be an angel investor and I'm going to learn this business, right? And primarily, any investor, whether you're an angel investor or you are a venture capitalist, the number one bet you make is on the entrepreneur, because you start with an idea. Of course, idea is important. I mean, I'm not downplaying the idea at all. Idea is absolutely important, but you want an entrepreneur who has the ability to navigate during tough times. I mean, like how we did at NetScaler, right? I mean, the original idea was one thing, but eventually we kind of navigated because of the dot-com crash in 2000 and 9/11 crash in 2001. The original product need got reduced and we had to re-navigate the company. And that's the kind of smartness you need in entrepreneurship, that you have to be constantly listening to the market, listening to customers. And if you are not aligned, and if the market does not want what you're building, you should be able to figure out how to navigate, right? So that is the kind of smartness that you look for in entrepreneurship. And that's why you make the primary bet on the entrepreneur. And then the next bet is on the idea and the problem that the entrepreneur is solving.
Got it. So pivoting as needed based on the market conditions, listening to
Correct.
your customers, being
Correct.
close to that, and looking for a real problem to solve that can change the world. So
Exactly.
that's your lesson of entrepreneurship. Now you have maybe it was an email, or whether you, when you were addressing some of our volunteers back in the group, small group we had at TIE, where you said, you know, education doesn't matter, experience doesn't matter, but persistence matters. So can you expand on that?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, my whole formula that I like to tell various people is, I believe in this, what is called as the CPS. The CPS stands for consistency, perseverance, and self-driven.
Mm.
If you actually look at most successful people, they will actually have these characteristics. Consistency, meaning whatever you do, if you just do it once, that is not consistency, right? It's like, if I have to lose weight, I go to the gym, and if I go for 1 week and then I say, hey, nothing is happening, of course nothing is going to happen, right? You have to be consistent in going to the gym, working out 6 months, 1 year, then only you start seeing the results, right? Same thing applies for whatever you do. You have to demonstrate consistency. Whether you're interfacing with a customer expects consistent results from you, consistent behavior from you, right? When the customer is becoming a customer, don't go high on the customer and then drop that customer. No, you have to be consistent to take care of the customer all through. So that's number one. And perseverance, don't give up that easily, right? Because ups and downs are very common and the challenges are very common. I mean, I'll give you an example. At Exodus, we were essentially working with winning Hotmail as our customer.
Mm-hmm.
And Hotmail was a fairly young company, but it was a pretty upcoming kind of a company. So it was very important for us to win Hotmail as a customer.
Mm-hmm.
And customer came and spent enormous amount of time with us, and he made a verbal commitment that he's ready to sign, and he will sign in the next 5 or 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a weekend in between, and Monday our sales guy calls up Hotmail to say, hey, can I come and collect the PO? So the customer calls up and says, customer basically says, tells the sales guy that, you know, we decided to go with someone else.
Ooh. Over the
So we
weekend.
said, what? In 4 days, you changed your decision? I mean, you have spent over a month working with us and understanding how our technology is and all the value and the people and, you know, all of that. And this is a great partnership. And overnight, you decided to go with someone else? Says, yeah, we decided to go with somebody else because we felt they are far superior compared to you guys. And there was a complete gloom in the company.
Mm-hmm.
The sales guy literally started to cry. So I went to the sales guy and I said, look, let's do this. We had a very good relationship with this Hotmail technical team.
Mm-hmm.
So I told the sales guy saying that, give a call to this person because we have a good relationship and tell him, number one, we respect the decision that they have taken. Right? We're not going to question that decision. Number two, just give us an opportunity to come and understand what is it that you liked about this other company and what is it that you didn't like about us.
So you learn about the product. Yeah. Yeah. Competition.
So that we can actually fix ourselves.
Yeah.
And he was graceful enough. And he said, yeah, please come over. I'll explain to you.
Okay.
So what we did in the meantime, and we knew who he was going to,
Okay.
we prepared some 10 questions that Hotmail should ask this other vendor.
Uh-huh.
So we went there, we listened to the customer, and then we said, look, you know, we have built a great relationship. In your best interest, please ask these 10 questions to this new vendor. And if you get a convincing answer, absolutely, you should sign up with them. So believe it or not, right? This is the conversation happening Monday afternoon around 3 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday morning, we get a call. Customer calls and says, Craig, come and collect the PO.
Wonderful. Bravo, bravo. That strategy worked. You know, for the audience who are young enough not to know, Hotmail was the premier and the pioneer in the free email stuff, which Microsoft acquired for a massive amount, and that became the foundation for Outlook. With that,
exactly.
Great story. Wonderful to learn about this and this thing from your experience 20 plus years ago. But let's talk about something new and recent. And you've invested in analytics companies, IoT companies, you invested in infrastructure companies. Nutanix is a success story of yours as well,
Yes.
Which went IPO. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, you know, as an infrastructure person, right from my early days, I've been spending time on infrastructure. That is the biggest value that I bring to the business to business companies, and more so to the infrastructure companies. And when I met with the founder of Nutanix, Dheeraj Pandey, back in 2011, 2012, I was very impressed with the founding team as well as the problem that they were solving, because it was completely disrupting the way how the storage industry operated. In fact, at Exodus, we were one of the biggest case studies for Sun Microsystems and Veritas.
Mm-hmm.
So because we had built the whole storage platform using Sun servers and the Veritas software. And I knew the complexity of building massive storage systems. And here is a company based on the Google file system, because the key founders of Nutanix came from GFS, Google file system. And they were taking the similar concept of the GFS, but they were making it enterprise ready. So when I heard this whole story, I said, hey, I want to be part of this.
Awesome.
And I was on the advisory board. I really worked very closely with the founding team. And in fact, the founder, the second founder of Nutanix, who came from Google, this is Mohit Aron. Mohit then started Cohesity, which is in the secondary storage, but similar kind of technology, hyperconvergence technology, but primarily applying storage for secondary storage. And then when he started, he called me up and he said, hey, why don't you get involved with this company too? So I'm privileged actually to be involved with amazing founders of these companies. And both companies are doing extremely well.
Consistency of relationships, and one thing leads to
Exactly.
another, and awesome stories, awesome stories. I learned so much today. I had no idea even after being associated with you for over 10 years, I haven't heard of these things. So thank you for taking the time. But before we let you go, talk about how do you, you obviously were part of our ASEI convention in Cal Poly Pomona, where along with Sam Petroda, you got awarded as well. And you've attended some of our recent events as well last year. So tell me if there is any message for the audience as to why they should join networking professional organizations like ASEI, and what's your message for youngsters?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing, right, when you join organizations like this is the biggest value is the networking. You get an incredible opportunity to network with amazing set of people. You could be inspired to start a company. You could actually maybe find a co-founder, right, for your organization, or maybe you can bring on some incredible set of people to come and join you, or you can even find potential customers as well, right? So it's very important that we cannot just sit at home within four walls and start a company. Human nature is so much that it is important to network and build that, especially if you have the ambition to start a company of your own, right? That's number one. Number two is the kind of speakers that organization like yours bring. I mean, you put in a lot of effort to attract these speakers, and majority of these speakers are highly accomplished kind of people. So what you as a member, one is, listen to the speaker for the content, but more so actually go and study how did this person become successful, or where he is today. And you will realize 99.9% of the time, most of these people would have come from a very similar background like yourself. Most of the people, middle class people, common man, struggles during the early days, right? It's not like they are privileged background or whatever. Everybody would have come with very, very similar background. But somewhere along the line, they take a turn. And most people get stuck in this standard path. So you have to observe and learn where that turn happened. Now, if you are ambitious to pursue that path, whatever path, it could be entrepreneurship, it could be scientist, it could be, something else, professor, academics, or whatever. And you can either just go on the normal path and be one among million people, or you figure out where and when and how to take the turn and be one among 100 people, one among 1,000 people. So I think that is the key reason as to why it's important for youngsters to come to an organization like this, observe the speakers, observe, the path that they took, and work with incredible self-driven volunteers like yourself, right? So keep that CPS in your mind: consistency, perseverance, and self-driven. It will absolutely pay off, and it paid off to me because I came from a very, very similar village background, lower middle class kind of a thing, and it's that dream, it's that uh, opportunities that I was looking for, and when you put in the effort, things will naturally start falling in place.
Wonderful, wonderful message, BB. And this is something which all of the listeners should take to heart. And I've learned so much today, as I've said previously as well. But there's one part of BB which we have not exposed till now. I did talk about earlier a little bit about your philanthropy, but you've been involved with Akshay Patra. And apart from that talk that you did with Sadhguru, I've seen you at Art of Living, and I've seen you at OVBI, the water mission that I've also been a small part of as well. So, do you want to talk about OVBI water project?
Sure, sure. Yeah, I've been actively associated with several nonprofits. In the education space, I'm very intimately involved with One School at a Time, OSAT, where we go and build schools. And I'm also associated with the engineering college that I went to, because that's a very it's a government engineering college, and it typically attracts a lot of underprivileged students. So
VJTI,
we
right?
UEC in
Yes.
Bangalore, UEC, University Visvesvaraya College of Engineering, which is a government engineering college, and Bombay was VJTI as well. Uh, and there we give scholarships to about 250 students every year.
Awesome.
And I can see the difference that these things actually make for the students, right, who come from the underprivileged background. And then I'm obviously associated with Akshay Patra for a very long time, which serves the basic needs of feeding the young children. And then OVBI, I'm very excited about OVBI, Overseas Volunteers for Better India, which is spearheaded by Art of Living. And the excitement that I have on this is understanding how the basics of what we all take it for granted, which is water, right? How that whole system actually works in a very natural way. I actually, honestly, I had no idea until I got involved with OVBI, right? How nature, in a very circular way, uh, the water flows into the ground, and as things rain and things happen, how it goes back into the ground, and how all of us benefit from that, how the trees benefit from it. This whole thing, man was trying to destroy, or actually to an extent has destroyed. And if the normalization does not happen, then the future is going to suffer because of that, because of the benefits that we are getting today. If we don't correct the situation, the future will be in bigger trouble. So that's what inspired me to become part of this OVBI, and at least help start to restore how nature has created this, and at least start bringing that back into the way how we all should live. So that was the whole purpose of getting involved with OVBI.
Great, great inspiration, BB. This is incredible. This last 35, 40 minutes have been incredible talking to you. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for your time, and namaste. This has
Thank
been
you, Piyush.
very
Thank
great.
you. I really appreciate. Yeah,
And
let me know if I can be of any help.
awesome, awesome. Thank you so much. And to the listeners, goodbye, and look forward to our next program. Take care. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.